NFL Championship Week is upon us, and I'm going to give you one free agent from each of the teams that you should be watching closely this weekend, and the Chicago Bears should be watching closely this weekend because they can help us get to this point by signing them to the team. Let's talk about it, starting now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talk. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. I'm Pat the Designer. Appreciate you guys for showing love. As always, man, Bear Down Bears fans, here's the big thing, right? You got the championship week coming up here, and there's a lot of good players on both teams, right, respectively, because they're playing in the championship week. But who are the players that we should really focus in on? Because there's a lot of talent on the field out there, and there are some free agents that the Bears could utilize when going out there in free agency this year with $150 million to spend. So let's start off with the best team, right? I mean, the team that most people predict to make the Super Bowl in the NFC. Let's start here at home. I think the Eagles is an interesting team, right? Because they have some really interesting names coming out of there, right? C.J. Gardner-Johnson is one that I really was looking at as a free agent. James Bradbury was somebody I was looking at as a free agent. Miles Sanders a little bit, but I think Miles Sanders might command more money than I'm willing to give somebody in NFL free agency right now. But I thought an interesting one to me, if not, right, if the Bears can't go out and get Daron Payne at some point, you do have to fix that defensive line. You need a shot in the arm. You need a boost. Daron Payne will be my number one. And if the Bears can't go out and get him, I really think Javon Hargrave would be a really, really interesting player for the Bears to look at from the Philadelphia Eagles, right? I mean, he's probably not going to reset the defensive tackle market, but I think that he is one of the top defensive tackles in free agency coming out, right? When you look at what he's able to do on the field, I mean, he had a career year this year, 11 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. What else? 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries. And here's the big part about it, right? He's one of those players, he reminds me kind of, not to say same style, right? But kind of like an Akeem Hicks type of player where when you signed Akeem Hicks, you were like, that's a nice sign, right? I don't know how that's going to work, but I really like the fact that he's a part of our team now. And as you saw him, you were just like, hey, he's still dominant. He's still a force on the field. He's still somebody who's going to continue to get better, and he's 30 years old, right? Still young. Probably going to go for a bigger contract this year because, right, you're not going to get that contract when you're 34, 35, so maybe something around a 4-year deal. But I think that the thing that you have to look at if you're the Chicago Bears here is if you are in the draft, right, and you are able to trade back once and or twice to the number 4 spot, you're still in you're number 2 or number 4. You're still in a position to go out and get one of those top defensive linemen that we've been talking about, a Will Anderson Jr., right, or a Jalen Carter. And so to me, right, I'm looking at those guys, and I'm saying they're going to need a little bit of veteran leadership on that defensive line as well. They can't be the best player that's on the team the second they get there. You want them to work their way into that. You don't want that pressure thrown on their shoulders. Yes, they're a top 4 pick, right? But you want to alleviate as much of that pressure off as you can. I think Javon Hargrave is a player that absolutely can do that. And I think that he could be a leader on this team as he has been for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to be in the backfield. He's going to force that pressure, right? And he makes the guys around him better. And the one thing that you have to focus on if you're the Chicago Bears on the defensive line side is how to get pressure on these quarterbacks. That's been something that we've struggled with woefully in the last year before that, right? And honestly, probably a good chunk of time while Khalil Mack just wasn't healthy. And you saw, right, it affect the DBs behind you. So to me, Javon Hargraves would be an excellent player for the Bears to be able to go out there and get from the Philadelphia Eagles. If you can find him in NFL free agency, if you can get him, again, Daron Payne's my number one. We're just talking about players in the championship weekend, giving you one player from each team. But Daron Payne will be my number one. But if you can't go out and get Daron Payne, Javon Hargrave is an amazing talent. And 30 years old, right, brings a little bit of that veteran experience. And hopefully, right, coming off of a Super Bowl championship. We'll see how that goes. Another player for me, by the way, I do want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. Should the Bears go out and look at Javon Hargrave from the Philadelphia Eagles? The San Francisco 49ers, right, is the team that they're facing. And the question is, right, like, What is it from San Francisco that we can actually attain that we may want? And I think the one thing that the Bears need to look at from San Francisco, that's probably the most important position right now that you could go after on the team that's available, is going to be Mike McGlinchey, right? Mike McGlinchey has been a really reliable right tackle for the 49ers. And I think that that's a position right now that you have a ton of question marks at, especially with Tevin Jenkins going down to another injury, right? All the ups and downs that there were with him this season, whether he was really a part of the team or not a part of the team, or he was being traded or not being traded. And I know, right, everybody's going to look at that one play where Micah Parsons tossed him like a rag doll, very much how Khalil Mack did many players, right? Some players you just have a tough time stopping. And Micah Parsons can toss anybody in this NFL. He is an absolute monster. But the thing is, right, he's been reliable. He took over the position 2019. He's played 94% of the snaps, which is him being healthy, right? He's only given up 27 pressures and 562 passing opportunities. I mean, right, like, those are the kind of things that you're looking for from a guy like that. And I think the biggest thing to me is that now you have, if you're able to go out and get a guy like Mike McGlinchey, right, you have some stability at that position. I think that's the one part that the Bears, you just didn't see from them this season, right? Where you're looking at a Bears team that they had guys subbing in and out consistently. They had guys coming at right tackle that were playing left tackle. They had guys, right, like all over the place. And especially, right, like the fact that he's played 94 snaps, he's 28 years old. You would be able to plug him in there and kind of just forget about him. He's been really solid. You have to improve this offensive line. I think he'd be a really, really good get for the Chicago Bears. And if you could, I'm telling you, keep your eyes open. Now, the question is, are the 49ers going to be able to lock him up? Very young, very talented. But if you can find your way to go get a guy like that, I think that you would solidify at least one side of your line there, right? Even if you hold on to Tevin Jenkins, maybe put Tevin Jenkins at a little bit of right guard, or you throw Lucas Patrick out there at right guard if he's able to play it all next year, if he's able to be healthy. There's a ton of things that you still can play with, but you need to have some stability at that line. And it's the one thing we didn't see this year. We had guys swapping in all over the place. I mean, heck, freaking Sam Mustipher was playing center, left guard, right tackle. He's bad at all of them. So, you know what I mean? Like, you have to really be able to just forget about. And the most important thing for me with offensive line is throw somebody in there that you can absolutely just forget about. And to me, that's a guy like Mike McGlinchey in that situation. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the page and let me know what you think about my first two options, right? Javon Hargrave, Mike McGlinchey. Would you like to see either of those guys in a Bears uniform? We got $150 million. Would you like to see both of those guys in a Bears uniform? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. Another guy, right, that really intrigues me. And it was an interesting one because I thought he was a bad signing at the beginning of the year for the Bengals, but as we go switch over to the AFC, by the way, I thought he was a bad signing at the beginning of the year for the Bengals, but really turned into a really, really nice player for them, and that's Max Sharping, right? Like, I thought that how they came in, how they started this season, we were going to be looking at them as, oh my God, these guys are terrible. But I thought that Max Sharping really stepped up when the Bengals needed him to, right? Really did some nice things when the Bengals needed him to. I think, again, he's probably coming in at the right guard position. Hey, listen, go out and get all three, right? That's what I'm saying. Hey, this would be great, right? I do this whole video and we go out and sign all four of them. That'd be amazing. But I think that Max Sharping, right, like when you've watched him in the playoffs, and how he played against that Bills defensive line, this is kind of really, right, like not to say the first time he's come on my radar, but the first time where I had nobody else to focus on except him, right? Like normally you're watching a Bengals game, you're just focusing on what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were able to do, but I really was looking at how he was playing. I was just amazed at how he was standing up to that Bills defensive line, right? I thought he did some really good things, and yes, he's a backup offensive lineman. Yes, he's a guy that maybe you're saying, hey, do you really want to go out and give him big money? You might not have to give him big money yet, right? Because we already know that Ryan Poles is fine with signing backup offensive linemen and giving them more of an opportunity. And I think that that's something that if you're a Bears fan right now, you want to find guys that are going to be able to fill in at those spots that are younger, right? And so to me, I'm looking at Max Sharping a little bit as a really interesting guy from that Bengals team that you could bring in, plug in at that right guard position. And again, just forget about, right? Like that's your goal. And if you're able to do that, right, forget about the right side of your offensive line. Now all of a sudden you have something solidified that Justin Fields can kind of rely on. You have to focus in on solidifying this offensive line at most, which is why we're going to finish this out with another offensive lineman, right? And there's a lot of guys that I would look at maybe from Kansas City and say, hey, I kind of feel like this guy would be nice in a Bears uniform and stuff like that. But I think that a lot of them are being accentuated by what Kansas City's offense can do, what Pat Mahomes can do, what Travis Kelce, the attention he brings, right? And so I'm kind of just stuck in the trenches on a lot of these because a lot of these guys are already in great systems. And so for me, right, do we have a great system? I don't know. I need Justin Fields to be protected long enough to know if Luke Getsy can call a great system. So once again, an offensive lineman as we look across the field at Kansas City, who's my pick to win this game over the Bengals and go to the Super Bowl to play the Eagles. Probably, I'm probably leaning that. My dream Super Bowl, by the way, would be Bengals Eagles. I think that will be fun as heck to watch. But I think we're probably going to see KC versus the Eagles. And maybe the 49ers slip there. But we'll see. But anyway, my final name or free agent that I'm really looking in at for the Chicago Bears to go get, Orlando Brown Jr. He's been my number one guy the entire time. This offseason, heading into this. He's wanted to play left tackle his entire career. Didn't get the opportunity to do that consistently in Baltimore. Comes to Kansas City. Gets the opportunity to play left tackle. In an organization that Ryan Poles is coming from. He's been one of the most reliable left tackles in the NFL. Over his career, I should say. He hasn't missed a start since earning the starting job. He's been a Pro Bowler every single season since 2019. And he is at the most important position for the Chicago Bears. That's what it comes down to. He is my, not only just in this, like you have to pick which player you really want to go after and who you think is going to be in all of that. He's my number one free agent in general. He should be all the trades you can make, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Adams, right? You want to go out there and get them. You want to make these trades, go get some wide receivers, get some weapons for Justin Fields, Saquon Barkley, you available? I don't care about none of that. You need a left tackle that you can plug in and be like, he's there, he's fine. Orlando Brown Jr. is that left tackle. He's been dominant every single season. I don't see him stopping being dominant coming to the Chicago Bears. You need to put some better pieces around him as well, but he is the biggest name that you can go get. And you want to see the difference that a left tackle makes? Go ask what the Miami Dolphins, what Teron Armstead means to them. Tua Tagovailoa went from looking like a quarterback that didn't know that he was a quarterback to looking like a quarterback that was one of the best in the NFL. That's what a solid left tackle means to the quarterback position. You want to see Justin Fields take that step? He's the guy you need to be going out there and getting. I think that, right, like you have a really nice player in Braxton Jones at left tackle. You don't have to screw him up. You can put him next to one of the best left tackles in the game at left guard, with a spot where you need somebody to be anyway, because Cody Whitehair, he's kind of going downhill, right? He's getting older. He's aging out. He's having injuries. Different things are happening to him. I love Cody Whitehair as a backup, right? But you need somebody solid there. Braxton Jones is one of the best left tackles among rookies this season. Really great draft pick for the Chicago Bears. You throw Orlando Brown Jr. next to him, he becomes a Pro Bowler, in my opinion, as well at that left guard position, because now you have somebody standing next to you that is already great. You just have to be a little bit better than you were this year. And I think that he'll take another step standing next to Orlando Brown Jr. So for me, I think this is the must get of free agency no matter what. But if we're talking about just on the Kansas City Chiefs, he would be my number one player. Another player I might look at is Juju, but I don't know. As your number one, I don't want Juju as my number one. And I feel like, like we've kind of got that guy at the number two already in Chase Claypool. I know it looks bad right now, Bears fans. I know it does. It will improve. I hope. But I really feel like Chase Claypool have a nice next season with the Chicago Bears. So let's hope so, because gave up a high pick for him. Turned out to be a first-round pick. So really don't want to be wrong on that one. But, hey, I do want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know in the comments below. Gave you my NFC and AFC championship free agents to watch for. What players are you guys looking at? Who are you guys focusing in on? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer. Back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.